also people, or actually students, like hierarchical relationships. What I see quite often with students is that they try to project a perfect image of themselves to the higher-ups. Like, for example, also recommendation letters, everyone wants to put a perfect image of that person in the recommendation letter. And now, based on the trust kind of perspective, if you give a perfect image, that kind of, you can immediately see that it's not the right amount of trust. No one is perfect. So in communication, I think it's important, also for me, I've been trying to hear, also always say when I get a new idea, when I learn something, I try to say that, oh, that's a new idea, I've never thought of that. To demonstrate to you that I'm not perfect. I think everyone should do that when they find themselves imperfect, they should try to kind of communicate that imperfectness, because that imperfectness increases trust. If we give out a perfect image, sooner or later we will fail. We will be unable to keep up that image of perfectness, and then we lose trust. Just as like a life learning, my version of life wisdoms. Then we move on to epistemic rights. So the right to know, the right to question. So we've talked about here that there should be kind of, well, this is not a different project within the same program. So it's a Deca project within the SHIELD program. But yes, the right to know, right to question. So if you want to trust something, we need knowledge. And to gain knowledge, of course, we need to make questions about that system, right? And that's what epistemic right refers to. Our philosophy students can here perhaps correct my definition, but to my understanding, it refers to the right to ask questions about something. Because without questions, we cannot learn. We would then have to only trust on the other party to communicate. I think that this is a bit too much trust on anyone. So we need to be able to also ask questions. So trust is built on partial knowledge, understanding. Without knowledge there is faith, or could be faith, but at least there is no trust. And with complete knowledge, the trust is not needed. We covered that already. To gain trust, we therefore need the right to know and the right to question. How does that make you feel? Is that seems correct? I didn't realize that I could have made these into questions. I already revealed the answers.
Sorry. This opened up another thought process, right?
Yeah.
With technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if implemented correctly, you can always ask your right to forget about you.
Yes.
In human, you cannot.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? I mean, that's another difference. I mean, like the last slide, right? The difference between a human trust and a technology trust. With technology, you can trust the technology if it is implemented correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, that's a caveat, right? You can always ask him the technology for the ability to forget.
Yeah.
That's one of the fundamental rights for GDPR as well, right? But same doesn't go with the humans' trust, basically.
Yeah, that is actually true. And that connects with one thing which I've been pondering for decades already. That to me it seems like forgiveness is basically asking you to forget.
Correct.
If someone hurts me, I'm unable to forget. So, so how does forgiveness work? It's not connected now to this topic, but I don't know. So, like as an intellectual exercise, how does forgiveness work?
My behavior towards the person.
Sorry?
My behavior. So, suppose the person has wronged me and he's asking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So, my behavior would be as it was before.
Yes.
If I forgive. But I still remember it. So
Yeah.
I don't forget. But I can change my behavior to be as it was earlier.
Yeah.
So maybe that is forgiveness.
Yeah. So that could be that you demonstrate by actions. You demonstrate that your behavior has changed. So through that we could then again gain trust again. So that's perhaps forgiveness is then to regain trust.
Forgiving is like sometimes it can be like accepting that it was a mistake, or like when you look past that, you give another chance.
Yeah.
It's like in a way again like you believing that person that the intentionality was not to do that.
Okay. Yes.
It is sort of not really forgetting something. Forgetting that this happened, you're agreeing to revisit what happened and understand it. You form a different understanding of it.
Yeah. But so who does the revisiting? Is it I do?
If you broke my trust, then I have to revisit.
Okay.
So it's like you're telling me that but I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
I know this looks like this, but it was actually not that. There's another perspective. It could also be this. So I'm trying to sort of, I'm agreeing to get out of my understanding of it and then accept a different understanding of the same what happened. So I'm not really forgetting what happened.
Yeah.
I am understanding it from a different place.
Okay. Yeah. That is yes, good point. So I can rethink and therefore understand better your motivations for doing what you did.
Yes, so basically there is, it's like the same event this is philosopher called Donald Davidson, so he talks about like how the same event under two descriptions can be two different events.
Yeah.
So it's like that, so you are letting go of this one description of the event and going with another description and you're like, oh, so now the event itself has a whole different meaning, so now it's different.
Yeah. And that's also yesterday we talked about this chatbot, which had different questions, and the questions themselves carry meaning in them. So that actually, even if they are like functionally the same, they can carry different meanings in them. But so that is then focuses on me, how I rethink to forgive. I've also been thinking about as a solution to the forgiveness problem, that if I receive evidence that you have understood, that you have rethought, that you have understood how much your actions hurt me, and therefore you rethink your intentions.
Yeah, that is like, sometimes it's like, oh, I did not realize.
Exactly.
I did not realize that, this is what I was doing.
Yeah.
So if you can prove that, you did not have the intention to do it, then you're basically saying, in a way, very technically you're saying, but that was not an action of mine.
Yes.
I'm really sorry. I will be mindful about this next time, that, it's more like a collateral effect of your action. So I'm like, I will be mindful about this. This will not happen again. So it's like I never noticed that my action could have that kind of consequence. I apologize for being not mindful about it.
Yeah. And then also, your actions, you didn't have information about the effect of your actions towards me.
Yes. So you're apologizing basically for the lack of knowledge. So you're not putting in the effort to gain that knowledge that
Yeah.
what all consequences my action can have.
Yeah, all right. So that gives me evidence then that you would next time understand better.
Yeah, so there are, you don't, like, just because I apologize to you, you need not forgive. There are certain apologies that are acceptable, certain that are not.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah, I just want to add another point. Like, we know that one of the situation happened in 2016 that Volkswagen has built like number of cars and they had a what do you call the exhaust issues.
Yeah.
So the trust was broken because it is one of the leading company in that world. So the damage is already done. So we can rebuild the damage, like the trust by they have done, like, you know, they took back all the cars back to their service and they have done the repair and keeping. Like that will be the another way to, like, you have to show the, like, whatever the things which are done which causes some hazardous thing. So you have to remove it from if I have broken the trust.
Yeah. So you have to try to undo the hurt you've done. It's also part of the trust rebuilding process.
Yes.
Yes. Interesting there also that it's not only the trust towards Volkswagen which was broken, it was also the test kind of standard probably should be updated if it's possible to fake results. So the trust towards this test administrator was also broken in my mind. So then again coming back to the epistemic rights, then we have the right to ask questions about Volkswagen, the test procedure, and we should. I think we actually should ask questions. But then the question is how much questions is appropriate? When does it become a problem? Is there a problem if you start to ask too many questions? Nodding immediately.
Yeah,
maybe if I speak in terms of human relationships, for example, our parents love us so much, and sometimes they ask too many questions just to be sure if we are safe, just to be sure that if we are doing well. So sometimes out of their concern they ask us so many questions, but we somewhere have this tendency to think that maybe they are not trusting us. That's why they are asking too many questions all the time. Same is with our relationships, our partners or maybe. So when we tend to ask them so many questions, they think that we are not trusting them.
Yes. So that communicates mistrust.
But we ask just because we care.
Yeah.
Right?
Care is a new word. Hold that. Yes, but that's true. So there is a communication then of mistrust to ask too many questions. So that's a balance then. We do have a right to ask questions, but there's limits to that. Also, there's the kind of the paranoid kind of category of people. They basically mistrust everything and question, but basically they question truths in a different way than we do. I think perhaps they overdo the questioning part. But therein lies like a paradox. So, like, we have the right to question, but how much is, again, it seems to me that how much is nothing here is binary. We have to be appropriate in the amount of questioning. Something coming over there.
Rather than asking questions and knowing.
Yes, the microphone is traveling.
Yeah.
rather than asking questions and knowing,
Mm-hmm.
experience is more important.
Okay.
So experience will give both at one time.
Yeah.
So experience about a system, it may be either a machine or a human, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So questions and answers rather than experiencing it is important, which gives beyond question and answers.
Yeah. So you find that the experience or first person observation is more valuable than someone telling about it. We have a good exercise on that in the afternoon. Hold on to that. There's more thinking about coming about like what is good evidence. Remember that. But all more questions here or comments.
No, so how much can you, how many questions are enough or like appropriate amount of questions?
Yeah.
Like, I think that is different in case of you're asking questioning a machine or a person. So to a machine, it's already, you can go on asking how, like, till you are satisfied or not, like, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very mechanical, like the question will be, like, but then like if I am, let's say she's doing something for me, so I have to trust her with the work. So it is also important for her to perform decently, in that it is also important that she believes that I have some amount of trust in her.
Yeah.
So I cannot go on asking questions and make her feel like, oh, this person doesn't trust me at all with this.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a little problematic. But to a machine, the machine does not feel anything. The machine, so you can.
There's feel or there's no cost.
Yeah, like it's the psychology. There's no psychological aspect. There's no psychological impact. The machine will not have. It will not be have. It will not have any impact on the performance of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the feelings or the emotions or the intuitions. There's nothing like that. There is a function and there are ways in which it can be achieved. So it's gonna do it. So you ask some questions like whatever the programming of the machine allow the machine to share with you, it's gonna share with you.
Yeah.
And how much ever you ask, it's not going to give you anything more than that also.
Yeah. Currently, so in current implementations, I agree that that's true. But now I just claim that so asking a lot of questions is also communication about our level of trust towards the trustee. But so, of course, we could program the computer to understand that if I make lots of questions towards it, that's communication of my mistrust towards it.
Yes, but what you can program the computer is to give an appropriate response.
Yeah.
But I don't think the computer, knowing whatever it means for the computer to know that this person lacked the trust is not going to affect the performance of the computer.
No, but it might change the communication. So I think it's useful for the device to know that you are not trusting. So if you are not trusting, the computer probably then could change its communication to try explain better. Explain better what it's doing, what its purpose is, and how it's doing, so that you would gain the right appropriate amount of trust.
Right, but then that can be problematic also, right? That can be, the computer could also manipulate you.
Yeah, of course. So that is of course always the problem. That it can be dark design patterns or unethical design patterns.
But then this is like again we're talking about like illustrationary force, and then you were saying saying that you could actually bookmark, like you can actually mark the illustrationary force, and probably this is one of the ways in which you can use that if you can.
Yeah.
So doubt or mistrust is probably one of the illustrationary forces that can be marked and responded appropriately with.
So that is so. We are not currently at that stage yet, but I would like to come to that at some point in the next 10 years, that we could try to estimate the trust and then change the behavior of device or service based on that. improve the customer service feeling?
Quick thought process, right? I mean, like, since a lot of people here, right? We have tools to measure performance.
Yeah.
OKRs. I mean, a lot of tools are there to measure performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there is no tool to measure trust.
Yes.
Right. A lot of people talk about it, like even in open forum, but there is no effort that is put on. OKR become very popular because, I mean, like Intel became successful and Google adopted it and became successful. I mean, there are a lot of tools like OKR to like measure performance, right? There should be a framework, I mean, like both from a technological angle, like to measure trust. Say, for example, if you're working in an organization, right? We also have to think about mental models of like how to build that kind of a system, because coming back to the example I told you, right, in allied forces, I mean, like you always like I mean, want to like select people with high trust even if they are medium performer, right? If trust becomes a paramount, right, there should be a way to measure it and there should be frameworks to measure it.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to throw it up to you. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, even I do not know like what is the answer to that problem, but I just want to insert that in everybody's head, basically.
So I thought more about that later, but the short story is that it's difficult. So we do have lots. Science has methods to measure trust, but the problem is that there's so many. You already noticed that there's so many different things which influence trust, and to get the repeatable measurement, you really have to narrow it down to very kind of narrow things. Or you have two different things, and you want to measure the trust between them. So the difference has to be very narrow in scope. It has to be quite large because there's also too much individual variation. But the usefulness of those results becomes quite small because the scope is always so narrow. So in practice it becomes useless.
Very interesting. See, I mean, like, I just want to know another question.
Yeah.
I mean, to you, right? Say, for example, I mean, like everything, the conversation between you and me,
Yeah.
right, has exclusively happened in a digital mode. Let's assume for a moment, right? Let's assume for a moment it is either in email, right, or any digital medium where I can scrape the data. Right? I mean, not necessarily as an offline model, right? If I could scrape the data, and if there are like scientific models, right, will we be able to like define something? I mean, see, like something is better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, see, currently we have zero, right? Zero models to like, I mean, like measure trust, right? If at all, like, if there is a framework for like that, like exclusively, I can throw it up to that black box and say, based on the conversation we are having, right, this person, trust them. See, even for that, like, we can define levels, like 6 or 7 levels, right? I think this person's trust level with the trustee is somewhere between 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that is possible in the long run? Like, I'm not asking you for an algorithm or things like that.
So kind of, so we can gain evidence.
Mm-hmm.
For example, now and there are among the questions you make.
Mm-hmm.
So how much you question my actions?
Mm-hmm.
That is an indication of how much you trust me. And we can in such interactions we can measure trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's more difficult than with devices.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah. But I'm just correct a tiny detail. So we have methods of measuring trust,
Mm-hmm.
and there are like really statistically proven
Mm-hmm.
methods for measuring trust.
Oh, nice.
They are just always very narrow in scope.
Oh, okay.
So there's
Okay.
just one single question they make, which is so narrow that in a design of a speech interface,
Mm-hmm.
it's not very useful because we should have 50,000 different trust test experiments before we cover the needed area, and every test takes 2 years. We are never finished. But yeah, I thought about it, that measuring a bit later. Oh, yes. But this is as a conclusion here that then so we need to question. So we need skepticism. That's the mandatory part. So we need distrust. So there is a bit of a paradox there that to be able to generate trust, we need distrust.
I was just going to ask that, like, should it even be, or should we be aspiring to, you know, build absolute trust of machines at all?
No.
So that's like the conversation about, like, you know, how can we make sure that they trust? Should we be making sure that? I don't think we should be making sure that people trust machines.
No, yeah.
Because it's a pseudo trust when you trust machines. You don't know what you're trusting.
But yes, but if they behave consistently good for you, so if they are consistently beneficial, so if a device is consistently beneficial for you, so it always does good to you. In all recorded history, it has been useful to you.
But that's what then. This is the problem. The problem is like you are, for you, somebody. So let's say I'm like another like a layman who is not very aware or concerned about the technology or the back end of any of this. So my trust go to the machine, but the decisions are not taken by the machine. The intentionality comes from elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the actions are done elsewhere. It's just like the machine is just a tool. Like, so my trust is, and then it I don't know, gives me like she said, like, you know, some unrealistic expectations also. It might lead to some unrealistic expectation also.
Yes, yes, of course. But so I feel like we are now again moving to the categorical distrust, like that we should never trust the computer, which I personally feel is wrong. We should have some level of trust. We should not have perfect trust. I agree with that.
Yes, but then I was trying to ask about like the distrust.
Yeah.
So let's say like there has to be a little amount of distrust also.
Yes.
But at what? At the machine, or like shouldn't there be like more awareness about, like, you know, where should we put our distrust or trust?
Yes.
Like when you put it on the machine, it's a little problematic. It should be rather put on the company or the government or the software engineers or the data trainers. Like,
yes, I agree. That's all. It's not an isolated entity then. So that there is this chain of trust we talked about earlier, and that should be part of the communication. Then, when the device explains what it does, it should also then connect it with the incentives that the company behind it has, or intentions that the company
I think that will actually increase the trust, because I will trust something more if I know, like, if something goes wrong, how to rectify it, like, or like whom to hold accountable or responsible will increase the trust.
Yes. And also, like, let's say if we start to look at the company incentives, so it could explain that we are trying to now help you, but why are you trying to help me? So why is that an important value for the company? So that's something I believe should be explained in the response or the communication.
Like if you look at like, most of these devices, any of these phones or laptops that are like considered really good, they're very transparent about like every part.
Yes.
Like who's doing what, like where does the different parts of this thing, where is it made? Meanwhile, like it's like a very common thing called Chinese product, which means you have no clue where any of those parts have come from. So a trustworthy, like he has been saying, the transparency is probably the key to trust.
Yeah. So transparency is important. That's also, I think that, like, repeating the same message. we need to have appropriate level of distrust and transparency. So we need to have really wide transparency. But of course, we probably don't want to communicate that otherwise we get again that mile-long consent form, which explains everything, and that's not very informative because it's not just a wall of text. So it needs to be somehow appropriate depth. Trying to be completely transparent is then also an illusion. Yes. So we already talked about conspiracy theorists. So conspiracy theorists have too many questions, and that is also not healthy. So the extended epistemic rights, this still comes from the same project, or the mega projects, and so that they postulate, and I don't agree with this, that we should have a right to question and evaluate information even from trusted sources. That is important. So, like from a Scandinavian perspective, I trust the government quite far, but still I need to have a right to question their actions. The right to participate in knowledge construction rather than just receiving it. Well, I think this needs to be further thought. What does knowledge construction mean? Same persons. I'm really happy that some people are participating all the time. Continue. I would also like the background to participate.
Right to participate in knowledge construction means involve people focus groups in the conception of the product or solution, design of the product, design of the architecture, try to understand the problem to which it all can, during those focus meetings only, we would have conceived a certain product, maybe a speech product or some solution will cater to some needs. When we have people participating such, let's say people from even NGOs, people from government, people from different community, when they come, they will list out some of the concerns which they have, and so you can be better equipped to come out with a solution which will address to their concerns, and that is one thing. And in different stages, like say when they have come out with something, they have come out with the first version of the product, they do beta testing, they ask them to come, so they will show that they are very transparent and what they promised, and it can be validated during those testing.
Yeah.
So that's how Google or Microsoft built a very big fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So people get to know, okay, yes, then they start trusting the technology and trusting the product from those.
Yeah. So I think the important thing here is what was the user interaction, so that users somehow participate in the knowledge construction. But what does that doesn't really give a complete answer yet to what it means to have knowledge construction. It's a difficult philosophical question. So knowledge, perhaps I start with something here. So different users might interpret differently what is meaningful, what is valuable. It's quite often can feel that the company tries to probably build a product which is useful, but that doesn't answer my needs or my kind of values of what is good. We had and yesterday also, I think it was yesterday we talked about, let's say, the different minorities. They might understand the world in a different way. So we need to think about, let's say that now, like a speech interface, if it has a male or female voice. I might claim that the androgen, like in between voice, might be the right thing. But do I really know what women want that voice to be, or can I think it's a bit presumptions, at least for me, to claim that the in-between voice would be the right voice for non-binary persons. I know that their understanding of gender is very different from mine. So I think they need to participate in the discussion of gender representation. So this discussion is then now the knowledge construction about gender roles in a speech interface. So then that is now part of the extended epistemic rights that they are talking about, that we really need to talk to, and also cultural more kind of differences, that if I as a Scandinavian person start to say what is right, I bet you that we find differences what is right in India. I'm pretty sure that there's something which goes wrong when I define what is right.
No, it is possible to participate in knowledge construction only when we have knowledge about that.
Yes, that's true also.
Otherwise, you cannot participate.
Yes. So you need some sort of basic level of knowledge, and then we can like refine that. So it's a refinement process with participants of all the different user groups, but not only user groups, but also different stakeholders. So an investor might have a different view of what is beneficial than the owner of the company, or the CEO of the company and the engineer at the company. So it needs to be shared among these stakeholder groups. The right to maintain skepticism without being labeled as anti-institutional or conspiracist. So then coming back to your example about your parents. So when the parents make 100 questions about where are you going tonight, you shouldn't label them as conspiracists. They care about you. But I understand that that also has limits. So of course, when we go past some border, then we would, I think we have the right also to label them as going too far. But finding those limits is then the soft borders. But I think this is a difficult field, like from an engineering point of view. How you then actually make that into the product, or it's actually perhaps not so much the engineering; it's the design team of a product. Now we come back, so there's a bit different. So it's again now a different group, or a different project. Now it comes back to Trustem, which I'm part of. But this is a work of Avanti. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's an Indian lady in our group who is studying social scientific perspective. I think it's like interaction between anthropology and social sciences. And I don't know those fields of science very well, so I don't even know the differences between those different ones. So social psychology and social sciences and anthropology. But anyway, now we come to the word which was mentioned here, the care. So clearly, trust has different emotions built into it. Or at least I feel that there are emotions involved. There was also Lam mentioned earlier that if you are in a loving relationship, basically some sort of trust is almost a required component. You can love someone. Sometimes you can love a dog, and you don't really kind of trust it much. But there are these elements of care. So that was also something I was trying to fish out in the morning discussion. The benevolence. That quite often, many definitions of trust include benevolence. I don't personally really agree perhaps with that, but if we have evidence of benevolence, of course that helps in creating trust. If there's evidence of care, of respect, if a service agent or a service person at the counter has respect to me, towards me, it's easier for me to trust that service person. Reliable, so reliability was mentioned. Safety, probably also, that comes also with the privacy kind of aspect of it. Comfort, I don't think we have perhaps not mentioned comfort, but at least confidence we talked about, and also mentioned familiarity. So those are essential components of the trust generation process between the individual and now here in this example service. Of course the service can also be another person or a device. So those are affects, or this area of science is talking about affects and not emotions. I don't know the difference in this context, what is the difference between affects and emotions, but I think easier to talk about emotions for us non-experts in this field. Then there is like the individuals who place trust, or the trustor in this relationship. So we've talked a lot about experiences, that there is like a experience, so we've learned over time things about the trustee, so the object of trust, and that those experiences are valuable, of course, in creating trust. But there's also social capital. I feel like that is more like the cultural aspect, that when others in your community place trust towards the service, they tell you about their experiences, so you like get second-hand information, and that kind of then helps build probably less valuable, or less like you get less confidence from that, but it helps definitely. A sense of belonging. How does that influence? Sense of belonging. Any thoughts about how that influences trust? At least even to get the feeling that it has some influence, like microphones.
I trust my labmates.
Yeah.
My community.
Yes.
The sense of belonging is there.
Yeah, so you have a sense of belonging to your community. Yes.
Any group that I belong to.
Yeah. So yes, yes, in that sense, it helps building trust towards that community. Yes. I feel like I missed still something, so I don't know the answer.
The degree of trust increases with this sense of belonging.
The degree of trust increases with increased belonging. Yes, I agree. My emotions tell that that's true. Yes. So you had something to add.
Yeah, I just want to give the same example which you given. You don't use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Since your belonging group here, so in your.
So WhatsApp example. So I have so. And that's trying to understand what you mean. So
Like you trust your group.
Yeah, I trust
That's
my
the
group.
reason
Yes.
why you are also like, using that.
So, I'm not using WhatsApp. So, I have a sense of belonging towards the other people who use WhatsApp, but I still choose not to use WhatsApp. So,
So there is always an anomaly.
yeah. So I'm an anomaly. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So, but I suffer from that discrimination effect from that. But I try. Perhaps that's also a way for me to communicate to the others that this is not right. I don't want to use WhatsApp.
I have to say.
Sorry?
I am also an anomaly.
Yeah. But yes. But I don't even know really what belonging is. What that was. That's why I don't understand it, because I don't understand what belonging is. Okay, but if you don't have enough answers to that, we can just move on. There's the kind of, on the other side, there's the trustee, so the object of our trust. So now in this our context, that's the service encounters, that's the service personnel at the Espoo city service point. And then that person who is there, we place our trust on that. And of course now, based on our discussion, so already there's a chain of trust, so we also have trust on the city and the government in general. But then there's the relationships. I think that quite obviously kind of then also continues that we build a relationship. So there's something more to it than just trust in the relationship. I don't immediately now see what is a relationship. Trust is probably a component also of a relationship somehow. But that's perhaps a shared experience, so there's something joint about it, so there's some level of symmetry in it. That both parties would then be trusting, perhaps.
There's a certain sense of physical as well as mental intimacy that.
Mental, yes, physical and mental intimacy. Okay. Yeah. I feel that feels right to me. Yes. That's interesting now. So those are feelings, and I don't have a logical explanation to those feelings. You have to turn to our philosophers to explain this in terms of logic. Yes, and of course, part of that is then the communication which we have. But it seems that relationships also have a history component to it, and there's time component. So we build relationships over time. When we meet for the first time, we don't have yet a relationship. That through our experience, we both build trust, but also a relationship. And then on this picture where Avantina characterizes trust, she also puts in here discourses. That's a term that I, as an engineer, I'm not used to use. I've tried to explain it as the potential considerations or potential conversations we can have about that. That's what we can have then a conversation about national identity now in the migration setting. there's two national identities at least involved. There's the Finnish setting where this happens, and then there's the nationality of the migrant. And those then kind of give different perspectives on how to look at trust. So the national, so not just trust, but also the person feels an identity, feels belonging to some reference group, and that influences how they build their trust. But perhaps easier is the power imbalance to think about. So in a service encounter, but also with the speech device, there is a power imbalance on many different levels. So I can turn off the power, or I can choose not to go to that service counter. So in that sense, the user has a power, but on the other hand, the service personnel can have a power over the migrant also. They can turn down some, so say no to that. You are not allowed to have this or the other service, or they can like choose which things they inform about. So they will have to choose what topics they talk about, or what options they give to the migrant. In the same way that comes actually back to the recommendation engine we talked about earlier. So YouTube has the power to choose which videos it will show to me, or Netflix has the power to choose which movies it advertises to me. That's a power imbalance which I feel discomfort about. Then there's the equality and equity. That's something we talked about on Monday already. So the more vulnerable migrants should probably deserve better service. That then requires that the service person or the device make a judgment about how deserving are you of a service. I think judgments are dangerous. But now it somehow seems that it's required to create equity. I painted myself in the corner now. I would not like to judge. How do you feel about that? Do you also feel the discomfort about making a judgment?
Equity and privacy, right? You cannot have best of the both, right? I mean, like,
no,
therein lies the problem, right? I mean, you have to, like, if you want equally treating systems, right, you should be in a position to, like, forego a little about, compromise a little about your privacy as well. So you cannot have best of the both worlds.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to achieve equity, you have to, like, define parameters which I'm okay to, like, compromise, right? And that's how you can build such systems, basically, right? Say, for example, even from a user interface level, right? You can seek some information to make the system behave equity from a service design perspective. Like, I even don't want to get into user design, right? From a service design perspective itself, you can involve collecting equity data, right? And make the system behave in an equity way, not equality way.
Yeah.
Right? And it's up to engineers like ourselves, right, to make sure there are no biases in the system in the pretext of building equity.
Yeah.
So that's how I would view that.
So biases in building it. Yes, of course, yes. So we can try to do that.
We can try to do that. I mean, I'm not sure like we can reach there.
Yeah.
But with intentions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like there should always be there. I mean, there should be an ethical way to like do things which you're doing from an engineering perspective. And I believe the engineers can make a fantastic difference if they are conscious about this fact. But a lot of times they are not, right? I mean, like because I mean, like with the speed, the advancements are going, and the speed the product has to be built, with the speed that the money has to be earned. These are not like ingrained or imbibed. They even do not have time to think about it, basically. From a design principle perspective, right? If like they get exposed to this facts, right, we can obviously move away from automation to value-centered design.
Yeah.
But that has to be built in right from the scratch.
Yes.
So yeah.
But that's a good point. So one design principle which I didn't remember to talk about yesterday was that from the privacy by design. But that also applies now to all questions here. That you really have to start from like first steps have to be kind of define what you actually want. What are your values? And that's doing it as an afterthought usually does not work.
Absolutely agree. I mean, like, when you are establishing a relationship, trust, right, it should always be value-driven.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the moment you have values as first, right, you might slip somewhere here and there, right? In principle, if your values doesn't, spill right, you have a good chance of building systems that can go a long way.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm stressing the time aspect of it because the instant gratification things will not require time. You can get hooked onto it because of the anti-patterns, basically.
Yeah.
Right. But these kind of systems, right, it has to enter your consciousness. It has to become a habit. It will take a lot of time to establish the pattern. It is possible, but you need that value ingrained into you, and a little bit of discipline helps, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I like this time aspect here now. That I do agree that business world has lots of time pressure, and now that seems to be in conflict with our trust building aims. So we will not be able to build trust if we move so fast all the time.
Yeah, see, once again, right, these people are hard to find, people who have time on their side. They want to do deep work, right? There are people out there, right, but they are very hard to find.
Yeah.
You have to establish that sort of community to build systems which can last long.
Yeah.
There are two different cohorts, right? That's what I said in the first instance. I stay away from this cohort because, in principle, right, deep work requires time, basically.
Yes.
You cannot do deep work with less time. If that pretext is there, right, might as well someone else will also be able to replicate it. If it took something, for example, if it took 8 hours of work, it's a project work. It's not a product, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to form cohorts, community of those kind of like-minded people who wanted to do a long run. Like an example you said yesterday, right? Be involved and want to make it my life principle to basically build encoders which can disentangle information, privacy
Yes.
information, right? It's a long-term vision.
Yes.
That cannot happen overnight. You have to find that kind of people to bring out value-driven systems as well. At this point in time, right? I mean, every corner you turn right. The focus is always about your EBITDA basically, meaning like companies, right? I mean, like how I want to optimize bottom line, optimize bottom line. But the companies do not realize, right? Building values, right, can build bottom line.
Yeah.
It might not happen instantly. It will take a good amount of time to build it, but in principle nowadays, I mean, like that is getting rarer and rarer. But it is possible.
Yes.
In principle, it is possible, and I want to like push this over.
Yeah. So it has. I agree with lots of that. So it takes time in all parts. So the business world is a bit in conflict with that. These goals, and value discussion is also something which we can perhaps have. Let's see how long we get today. But we can talk about more values in the afternoon. I was thinking also about the equality and equity, just connected also with privacy things. That let's say we would have here a panel of talkers, and then we talk about gender-related things. And then I can say that for me as a male, I can easily self-identify as a male, and I tell my opinion, and it comes to the next one, and the next one, and all then tell that their self-identified gender. Then comes the last one. He or she then get the pressure then to also reveal their identity, and not revealing their self, like the gender, would also be that would also reveal something about their gender or gender identity. So then. We can force things to happen. So my actions will influence them, or my action will reveal something about the fifth person. I forgot how this connects to equity. I had a question planned for that. Yes. Anyway, it was an example. We still had left the temporal aspect of that. The font is now a bit small, but it says that past and present experiences shape future expectations, and how trust manifests in future encounters. Yes. Okay, so this is now basically a list of outcomes from that picture. But I want this claim. I don't fully agree with that, but she says that it's perceived through emotions. I do think that there can be also objective components. We have observations about how we can be quite neutral about something. But it is definitely colored by past experiences. She says that it happens at encounters with service people. That is a bit now in a conflict with the previous project, which says that it has happens before, during, and after. Or it can be stationary. It doesn't even have to be, the action doesn't even have to happen. We can place trust on something as a potential. That we could do this. I trust that we can do it, to do something. and therefore I can feel safe. And we definitely can, now we're discussing it the whole morning from very many different perspectives and many social levels and many narratives. But exactly this is true. Now time is 12. When is lunch? 12:30. So we have half an hour more. Okay. Measuring trust, as promised. So in the early stages of this project, we went and talked with psychologists. Yes, we want to measure trust. How do we do it? And they were like, no, don't go there. So really their feeling is that, so the psychology expert feeling is that, or experience is that you need to do so narrow experiments that they are in practice meaningless for our service scenario. We would have to do so many experiments that we will never be done. So I claim that yes, that is true, but it is a complex world. But I think we should still be able to do something good, even when there's lots of uncertainties. It has to be possible to do some good. I choose to believe so. So in some sense, we do want to measure trust, but quite often we can use proxies, so substitutes for trust. Let's say now in service, so if we have services and then people never come back, that tells about something about it. It's useless for them, or they don't trust it, or so it's an indicator for trust. So there's retention, or willingness to use services. So Facebook, for example, quite a lot measures that how willing are you to share information on Facebook. They have lots and lots of studies about that, and that tells them something about our trust towards Facebook. Yes, willing to contribute into information, so that's also an indicator then. In a service situation, you can come there and ask questions without contributing anything yourself. So that it can be, in that sense, unidirectional kind of interaction, and that's how much you open up at that service encounter or with the device, then tells about something. But quite often it's also, trust is quite often a proxy. So as city, Espoo City, they want migrants to have a good life in Espoo. They want them to integrate. We talk about two-way integration. So it's not only the migrants who should change to become worthy of Espoo. It's also Espoo who should change to be worthy for the migrants. I have experience in Germany, and I feel strongly about that. I have strong emotions that also the Germans have to change to kind of. It's not only me who has to change. But in that sense, kind of that integration or that life quality in Espoo is with what we are trying to achieve. So, and trust is a proxy, so it's a substitute measure for that. So we can actually, Espoo can fail entirely in their services, and a migrant can still be integrated in the community and have a good life. So it's not measuring everything. So that is, I think, a good discussion then with devices. What why do we want to have trust toward devices? Is that overall the right
We are sharing our
measure?
privacy. We are sharing our privacy with those devices.
Yeah.
We are communicating. We are sharing some confidentiality information. Say we are even when you are using a mobile phone to converse with office or with the clients, we do not know in that somebody may hack and trespass and
Yeah.
so, find out information. So that's what we need to.
So you mean that we need to trust? So that's a prerequisite.
Yeah. So that the devices or the solutions which have been developed need to have those type of encryption standards.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, it becomes even difficult to converse with people over phone.
Yeah.
If somebody is hacking.
Yes. So some level of trustworthiness is required. But then the question is how much.
Too much. In fact, let's say we are transferring. Let's say we are transferring information from. We have conducted some experiments outside, and we are transferring that information to IIT through satellite communication. And if that somebody is able to hack that and get that information, then whatever research which we have found, it will be in public domain also.
Yeah.
So losses will be severe.
Yeah. But so the kind of. But now this. So yes, I agree that currently we are placing too much trust on them in the sense that private information is leaking out. But the quick overall question is that what is the true measure of goodness of a service? Trust is kind of one component of that, but I feel it's a proxy for something else. We are trying to achieve something with this device or speech interface, and having trust toward that service, yes, that helps in us achieving that goal. But what is the goal of a speech interface? Any thoughts from the back row? What is that? What are we trying to achieve? What is the ultimate goal of a speech interface? Say something. Why do you have a mobile phone? Someone put a hand up and answer. Why do you have a mobile phone? And say the first stupid thing that comes to mind.
I basically use mobile phones only to call.
Only to call. Okay.
Yeah, I don't prefer to use social medias and all.
Yeah.
Somehow I feel we get more addicted to it than using our time on a constructive work. We'll be spending more time there seeing others work. That would be beneficial for a certain extent, but not always.
So for you, the purpose is then to make calls, and so you want to. Your purpose is to talk to your peers or like network. And so the purpose of the phone is then to enable you to keep contact with your network. Okay, yeah, that is a fair purpose. And then the trust placed in that role then that.
When we don't use much and when we are not more digitalized, that is more safer also. But unfortunately, we need to be digitalized also.
Yeah. But when you just think in your communication with your network, then you put some trust in the device for your ability to keep that network of connections alive.
I feel like if you are more addicted to mobile, like we start saving our personal information, each and everything we start saving, taking note or anything. If we lose by mistake, or like if we lose a device, we become almost like a handicap.
Yeah.
Nothing will be like previously before the digitalization. We were like we used to take a note, we used to write, and we used to memorize and all. So that is much better sometimes than getting into digital, because we stop thinking. We get everything ready.
Yeah. But I think that kind of applies to any new technology. That when kind of printing was introduced to kind of when we first invented the kind of writing as like a copying information, then there was lots of talk that will we now forget the kind of skill of learning by heart? Yes, we definitely don't know by heart so many stories anymore. We lost that skill. The question is, do we need that skill? So I'm sorry, there's been benefits of knowing stories, like folklore stories by heart. Yes, definitely. But we have also gained something else. So it is not for me. It's not immediately visible whether the trade-off is negative or positive. And again, I don't want to make a judgment on that.
Yeah, that's all. Certain limit it is good, but not too much.
Yeah. Now we've got one opinion on what is the purpose of a speech interface. Any other opinions? How does someone else use phones? What is the purpose to have a phone from someone else? Be brave. Say something stupid. I dare you. All right.
So can I take
Yes.
LLM models as a reference?
Yes.
One way it is good, like there are some topics or some field where we will not be finding the exact solution or the required detail about the topic. There it will help us, like if you want to find some information. But what is happening now is like before thinking or before trying in all other way and getting into it, everyone is just jumping into a chat GPT and getting an output from that.
Yeah.
They are not even thinking whether it's the right or not. Sometimes for so many things it gives a generalized answer, which may not be the relevant. When you when you mainly focus on a research, we can't just get the generalized answer. We need to be very particular about the solution and all.
Yeah.
In that cases, these LLMs are somewhere it's misleading, or we can say like somewhere it is stopping person to thinking capacity. It is hurdling the thinking capacity also.
Yeah, I agree. How do others feel about that?
ChatGPT is known to all now.
Yeah, but
whether you are a technical or a non-technical person.
Everyone knows ChatGPT, yes. So, how do you feel about that?
No, I have a different take. Yes, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's not ideal, right? I mean, like, especially from a solutioning perspective, you have to think through because there are various angles to it, right? I mean, like, and you have to put your thought process in some way to like start executing things, right? But from an LLM perspective, right? I mean, 30 years ago, like 40 years ago, right? What happened was, I mean, like you train someone, right, who can automate like 60 or 70% of your job, right? And once they share the result as a file, right, you have your own way to interpret it and finish the rest of the 30, right? The rest of the 30 only you can do. I mean, whoever is like a manager or managing director, that's how, I mean, a lot of companies even nowadays are structured as well. I view any LLMs like that basically where it can semi-automate things for you, right? And the world is going there. I mean, it's not like, I mean, if you don't use GPT at least, right, you are missing out. I mean, like, currently you are missing out, right? but you have to always keep GPT at that level. Basically, I mean, like automate 60-70% of your work, right? But you should be the one to like put the thought process around it to make sure your needs are addressed.
Yeah.
Right? The onus is on you.
Mm-hmm.
The onus is not on ChatGPT, because whatever it does, it will give you. But the problem with that kind of, approach, right? You cannot perpetually go ask it everything, basically. Then, and therein lies the difference as well, right? Whatever you have learned, right? You can also make a learned outcome based on the response, right? It is not automation. It should be stopped at the semi-automation level. I love the example you gave 2 days ago, right? You still use GPT, but at the end of the day, I will go word by word to make sure it is doing justice to what I've asked,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
The onus is on us. You cannot have everything as a instant gratification. Either you can automate everything, right? Or you can step back and say, yes, I'm going to use it as a semi-automation tool, but I'm going to validate everything that is going to give me with a sincere form of concentration, basically, and I'm going to give some time. Say, for example, if a task is taking 1 hour, right, maybe ChatGPT can help you to bring it down to half an hour, but it is not zero.
Yeah.
The moment that paradigm shift in terms of thought process happens, right, that's when you will add more powers to your armory as well. That's my perspective.
Yeah. Let's actually this ChatGPT is a good example now to think about lots of the trust concepts we have discussed this whole morning. So apparently now many people here have a quite high level of distrust towards ChatGPT. And I think that personally I think that's fair. So there's lots of things it's not doing well. So some things it's doing well, but also.
I agree.
Yeah. So then, for example, now what we've discussed today is the amount of knowledge we have about that and transparency.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about our level of knowledge about or the epistemic rights? How much can we do questions? How much do we get answers?
See, my perspective there, right? GPT is good. At this point in time, it is good, right? But GPT is not that good. If you take call center for an example, right? People are automating L1 queries, basically your FAQs and other stuff, and L2 queries as well, based on the incidents that has happened in the past, right? What is probably the correct solution to that incident? To bring up that case study, they are using chatbots. But even now, right, your L3 queries, say for example, you have a history of evidences.
Yes. So now there are non-integers here also, L2 and L3.
Mm-hmm.
Explain your
Okay,
concepts.
L2, sorry, I got carried away. It's okay. So L2 queries are not frequently asked questions. You need a little bit of domain expertise to answer those questions. You don't need to be fairly technical, but you still need to have domain knowledge in understanding how to respond. So those are L2 queries. The L3 queries are deeply technical in nature, might or might not be based on incidents that has happened in the past, right? So you need knowledge graphs to kind of understand and guide the customer, basically, right?
Yeah.
Even in the context currently, large-scale implementations of AI in chatbot towards automating the workforce of L1 and L2, right? There is reasonable success, I wouldn't deny that. but the advanced form of L2 and the advanced form of basic form of L3 is still handed over to a human, basically, right? That's where the technology currently stands. And it might be like with a reasonable confidence, achieving L3 queries also, it might not take a long time, right? But the problem with GPT, at least, based on the experience I have building RAG-based models, right? It kind of hallucinates as well.
Sorry?
Hallucinates as well.
Yeah, hallucinates, yes.
Right, that's a dangerous problem. It might not be a bad problem for a small company implementation, but it can quickly become a bad problem when it is deployed from a B2C angle.
Yeah.
Unless otherwise it is a B2B angle, internal, where mistakes are forgiven and other stuff. The moment the problem is deployed as a B2C, business to consumer, B2C, business to consumer, right? It can become problematic with the hallucinations that are happening. You have to find a balance, basically.
Yeah. So also in the migration context which I'm working at is by law, a city has to give correct information to customers.
Correct.
It is not allowed to give wrong information. And if a service person or service agent person gives information, he or she is personally responsible, so legally responsible, could face like a lawsuit if they give wrong information. But of course, they are imperfect. They will make mistakes.
We have to agree that.
But I think that is something which currently the city doesn't it closes its eyes to that. It doesn't realize or is not aware of that, and puts the requirement level for the device or service, computer service, puts a higher requirement on that than the humans. I think that is interesting. We also talked about automatic driving, that currently in California, Tesla has less accidents per mile than humans have. But still we are really worried about the Teslas. Which is, there's some feeling, like we have some feelings about that, which I have trouble explaining those feelings. Still, it is an 11 question and more to it from the things we discussed this morning. For example, now I feel that we are on a learning curve, and my claim, what I've learned from psychology, that we tend to overtrust at the start, and I would see that we have overtrusted ChatGPT now, and based on psychology, it's now supposed to drop. Trust is dropping now. Probably overcorrects. So we go to a valley, and then we start to learn. And I think that is then what I was also searching for here. That we are currently learning, and all this feedback from you that it's doing the wrong thing, it's not working. So you are trying to communicate, get the community to learn the appropriate trustworthiness of the system. So I think that connects quite nicely with many aspects of what we discussed this morning. But still the kind of the background was what is the purpose? I mean, with LLMs, I find it hard to say what the purpose of an LLM is. It's a tool for something, and there's many problems where it can be the tool. But with speech interfaces, I still didn't get an answer what the purpose of a speech interface is. We have like five minutes before we have. Perhaps we have one more idea.
to come to the speech interface.
Yes.
So, for example, a conversational AI. Just a simple example, dictation.
Dictation,
Writing
yeah.
down. So it makes life convenient for
Yeah,
me
okay.
if I have an ASR
Yeah.
that types what I say. Or a voice bot rather than a chat bot.
Yeah.
So when I say it responds back to me.
So it's creating convenience.
Convenience.
Yes.
That is the movie.
Yeah. So that's the purpose of reducing your workload. Yeah. From the perspective of Monday's discussion, is that an efficiency target or a life quality target? So for you, so you said that it then mostly improves your life quality by reducing your workload. Okay, yeah. So then, that should then, of course, be then that if that's the preference of users, then that should be the goal of designers to improve life quality rather than efficiency. Of course, they are connected. Any more thoughts about? Well, we went quite far from measuring trust. but still kind of so that just to connect it back to measuring, so that then the kind of improvement in life quality would be then kind of the thing to measure. Of course, that is also very hard to measure. Perhaps not even easier than trust. But in that sense, we have other tools of looking at trust, other ways of quantifying that. But I do feel that trust is a useful concept. So in discussions about, let's say, LLMs, it is useful to think about trust and discuss it. You can characterize things through the concept of trust, even when we are unable to give it a number. So we should completely discard it, even if it's a proxy. So I think that's the value of trust in this. For me, this concept or context. We're almost at 12:30, so I think now it's time to take a break. Thank you. Let's meet at 2 o'clock.